The 1981 1-cent coin from the United States, more commonly known as the Lincoln cent or Lincoln penny, hold a very interesting place in the history of American coinage, especially for collectors and those who study U.S. coins in detail. This coin continues the long-running Lincoln cent series, which began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1981, the Lincoln cent had already become a familiar and iconic part of American life, used in everyday transactions while also being studied carefully by numismatists. The 1981 issue is considered especially notable because it was the last full year when the penny was struck in the traditional bronze composition before the transition to copper-plated zinc that took place in 1982. This means that the 1981 1-cent coin represents the end of an era in U.S. coinage history, making it significant beyond just its face value. When we look at the details of the 1981 penny, on the obverse side, we see the famous bust of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which had been in use since 1909. Lincoln's portrait faces right, with the word liberty to his left and the motto, "In God We Trust," inscribed along the top rim. The date 1981 is positioned on the right side, just in front of Lincoln's chest. Depending on the mint, there may be a mint mark under the date, such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco, while coin from Philadelphia usually carry no mint mark. On the reverse side, the coin bears the image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., which had been used on the cent since 1959, replacing the earlier wheat ears reverse. The inscription United States of America is along the top rim, E pluribus unum, just above the memorial, and the denomination 1 cent is at the bottom. Interestingly, if you look very closely at the memorial design under magnification, you can even see a tiny depiction of the seated statue of Lincoln, which adds to the artistic detail of the coin. In terms of composition, the 1981 penny was struck in 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, a composition often referred to as bronze. Each coin has a diameter of 19 millimeters and a weight of 3.11 grams. This composition had been used for most of the Lincoln cent's history, except during World War II when steel cents were made in 1943 due to copper shortages. However, by the late 1970s and early 1980s, rising copper prices made it more expensive to produce pennies. So the U.S. Mint decided to change the metal content. That change came in 1982, when the mint transitioned to a copper-plated zinc composition, weighing only 2.5 grams. This makes the 1981 1 cent one of the last coins to feature the classic heavy copper feel that many older collectors recognize instantly when holding the coin. As far as mintages are concerned, the 1981 1 cent coin was produced in very large numbers at multiple mints. The Philadelphia Mint struck billions of these coins without mint marks. The Denver Mint also produced billions marked with a D, and the San Francisco Mint issued both proof coins for collectors and some circulation strikes. The proof versions from San Francisco carry an S mint mark and are highly polished, designed specifically for collectors rather than for circulation. Because of such large mintages, most 1981 pennies are still very common in circulation today and are usually worth only their face value, unless found in exceptionally high grades or with a special variety. For collectors, what makes the 1981 penny particularly interesting is that there are varieties to look for. One of the most notable is the difference between Type 1 and Type 2 proofs. In 1981, the S mint mark on proof coins was changed partway through the year. The Type 1S has a more filled look, while the Type 2S has a clearer, more sharply defined shape. Type 2 proofs are scarcer, and therefore more desirable to collectors. There are also occasional errors in die varieties in circulation strikes, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or other minting mistakes, which can increase the value of particular coins significantly. From a historical perspective, the 1981 penny serves as a bridge between the older era of U.S. coinage and the more modern era that followed. It was the last year of consistent bronze cents, and this fact alone makes it more collectible than some later issues. Even though billions were minted, collectors often hold on to 1981 pennies as keepsakes, especially in uncirculated or proof condition, knowing that they represent the end of the Copper Age. For everyday people, however, these coins still circulate widely, often overlooked in pocket change. In terms of market value, circulated 1981 pennies are generally only worth 1 cent, but uncirculated examples, especially those graded highly by coin grading services, can sell for more. A bright red, mint state example can range anywhere from a few cents to several dollars depending on the grade. Proof coins, especially the Type 2S variety, can fetch even higher premiums, often several dollars or more depending on condition. Error coins, of course, can be worth even more, with rare mistakes sometimes selling for hundreds of dollars. In conclusion, the 1981 1-cent coin is much more than just a small piece of pocket change. It is a historically important coin that marked the last full year of the bronze cent, a coin that still carries a legacy of President Lincoln's image, and one that bridges a transition in American coinage history. Whether you come across in your spare change or keep one as part of coin collection, the 1981 penny serves as a reminder of how even the smallest denomination can hold rich stories about history, economics, and art. Collectors today still treasure this year, not because it is extremely rare, but because it represents the end of a long and classic chapter in the history of American coins.